I'm Kevin Cotillo. Sal Lito is back with us again. What's going on, Sal?
Well, hello, Kevin. We cannot seem to get the three of us together, can we?
Yeah, no, it just doesn't seem to happen. Look, I expect Steve to never be around, but this is actually your fault that he's not here. Sort of.
Yeah, but I have
Well,
a
it
life
was.
that Steve doesn't. So
It was your fault, and then it was his fault, and I don't know where the blame lies. But I'm here, which is the one constant that I think everybody looks forward to anyway. So we discussed earlier. I am the bacon, right? So
yeah, but maybe overcooked, slightly burnt bacon. I like chewy, drippy, greasy bacon.
I'm a little crispy. That's for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
you're crispy.
I'll give you that. Well, this is our week 2 preview show. So we are here. We digested all of the information from week 1. We've listened to the 2 other feeds from this podcast, or 2 other podcasts from this feed, I should say, however you want to say that. The dummies obviously do a great job of giving you the dynasty implications from the weekend. J Mike is fantastic at diagnosing the plays immediately as he goes along. And Sal, for those of you who are listening, can't see this obviously, but he's holding up a New York Yankees cup, which is very irritating to me as my Red Sox have been eliminated from the postseason. But you realize you are now on a New England-based feed, right?
I do. I realize that this is just chuck filled with New Englanders, and then occasionally Steve and myself.
J Mike's not a New Englander either, but
no, he's significantly better than all of you.
Well, he's significantly better than most people, in fact. So I guess that's not bad. We are going to go through all of the games today, though, Sal. Steve and I did a good job. We kept up a pretty good pace last time, so I hope you're ready.
I listened. I thought you guys did well. I'll be better.
Obviously, you'll be better, but you're a little long-winded. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, story of my life.
Yeah, well, so we'll work on that. There is a game tonight as we're recording this. It is obviously Thursday. Hopefully we'll get this out to you sometime soon, but this will be a little outdated as you're listening to it since it probably won't be out before the game. Tampa Bay plays Carolina. Sal, how bad is Jameis Winston going to look tonight?
It's the funny thing with Jameis Winston and the funny thing with fantasy football. He could come out and have an insanely good game tonight. Carolina is not a unbelievable defense. I'm not totally worried about that Carolina defense tonight. And he's got a ton of weapons. I know Mike Evans was a little banged up last week, and everybody seems to be healthy and fine there now. So I'm not too worried. I think that you'll get a good game out of Jameis Winston. I think that people dropped him this week as well. And if he's on your waivers, put him at the end of your bench because I think there's better things to come. And Arians has confidence. He's going to play. It's not a matter of is his job threatened.
Yeah, no, I agree. I had a buddy text me from about his home league. He was going into the season with Jameis as his guy, and I think that he was worried already after week 1, which I get. I mean, Winston looked terrible, but I said, you probably don't want to make any kind of moves. It's a single quarterback league. He was thinking about trading, a running back to try and get a good, better quality quarterback. I was like, don't do that. For one, there's guys like Mariota still on the waiver wire there that he could pick up if he had to. And, Winston's out there. He's got Josh Allen on his roster too, who I think will have better days too. And I don't think in a single quarterback league you need to make a trade for a quarterback anyway. But beyond that, this isn't the week to give up.
No. And speaking of Mariota, I'm amazed at how much stock I have in him as my number 2 quarterback. So many of my rosters, he's my number 2 quarterback. And I was so against him with you for years. But, he showed up. We'll get to him later, but nice week.
Yeah, well, I mean, not much else to talk about the Tampa Bay Carolina game since it's probably already going to be gone, and this is an old take at this point. But let's jump right into it. Tennessee and Indianapolis. Do you expect Mariota to keep this going?
I think he can. He managed to have that kind of a game, and to much of yours and my chagrin, Corey Davis registered a goose egg in so many of my leagues. SFB, it killed me. In the Falafel 16-teamer, it killed me. So and they were targeting him. He was just covered. They're going to try to take that weapon away. But the lady Walker comes back, looks fantastic after coming off that injury. Got a tremendous boost with a 75-yard catch and run by Derrick Henry, which goes onto Mariota's stats. But if all the weapons are going to get involved, in that offense, there's no reason why Mariota cannot be viable and be viable against this Colts defense. It's a good defense, but I think on a whole, the tone in Indianapolis is down as a team. So
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're talking about Mariota, I don't know that we're going to expect games like that out of him every week, but he is going to be a serviceable quarterback. He's definitely a QB2 for, and those of you playing super flex, you should absolutely have him on your roster if you can. He's going to be a great QB2. Be a little up and down, but I do think, I mean, look, Derrick Henry, as much as I want to fight you on him, he looked good and he opens up the rest of the offense for them. So if he can run like that and AJ Brown can be involved, hopefully better days are ahead for Corey Davis, although I'm not really sure. Targeted 3 times, didn't catch a pass. He was blanketed, like you said, but you gotta hope they're gonna keep working on at him. But yeah, I think Mariota will be the guy, and I'd be fine with him, even in a single quarterback. If you're streaming, he's a guy that you're gonna be able to play a few weeks and feel confident. Are you panicking on Corey Davis? Are you taking him out of your lineup this week and waiting and seeing what happens, or subsequently, are you putting AJ Brown in?
Well, I'll tell you what, in smaller leagues, like a 12-team league, I don't think there's a reason to have Corey Davis in my lineup this week. We play in a lot of 14-team dynasties. We play in a 16-team falafel. And I have him out of my roster, out of my lineup this week in a 16-teamer, and only because Giovanni Bernard becomes a play this week with the Mixon injury, and I could just put him in there. So where I have somebody else who's more viable, I'd like to see what's going to happen with Corey Davis.
Yeah.
Brown made big plays downfield last week. I don't know that's, again, it's 1 week. It's his first game that he played in the NFL, but he made it happen. He made big plays, and he looked every bit the part of his draft value. So now am I convinced that it's going to be that way all season? No. The guy I'm convinced will have another good week again is Derrick Henry. Look what Eckler did last week to this Colts defense. and so I expect him to be a big play, and I expect Delaney Walker to continue what he's done. I'm a wait and see on the wide receivers in this offense.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. Let's flip over quickly to the other side, the Indianapolis side. I thought Jacoby Brissett looked decent in his return. I mean, obviously throws for 2 touchdowns, doesn't have a pick. You're only getting 190 yards out of him, but I thought he was decent. I thought he ran the offense well. It's against a tough Chargers team, even though they're already banged up for the season, and put up 24 points. I obviously. Go ahead. Do you want to take a victory lap on Marlon Mack? I know that that I'm on board this year, so at least there's that. So you've kind of already gotten your victory lap out of me, but big day for him.
No reason to beat the dead horse with you, right? You've come over to the good side, and they gave him the opportunity to be the lead guy in that offense, and he, for lack of a better term, ran with it.
He did.
But I saw a stat come out a little bit earlier. It was the 5th straight game where Mack was targeted more times than Nyheim Hines. So he is not threatened by Nyheim Hines in the passing game any longer. He's a complete every down back, being used in that offense as every down back, and he should be in your lineup every week. Nobody's really matchup proof. They're going to come across somebody that's going to stop them every once in a while, but I will continue to see him do it and be stopped before I take him out of my lineup. So he's in there every week for me. And I think all the people that were worried about T.Y. Hilton realize that this guy he's a wide receiver on his own, not made by a quarterback. People thought, Andrew Luck made him. Andrew Luck did not make him. He willed that game-tying touchdown, literally stopped short, had guys running past him like they were on ice, and cut on a dime and headed into the end zone. So Hilton, Mack in my lineup every week, regardless of who they're playing currently.
My computer is completely locked up right now. There we go.
Kevin, come back. What happened?
I'm here. Can you hear me? You got it? You got me? There we go.
Oh, I hear you and see you. You're just having technical difficulties.
Yeah, technical difficulties on my end. So, I think that, interestingly enough, all my Nyheim Hines shares that I was hoping to, get a little dart throw there. They're a little further down on the list right now. I'm still holding on to them on a lot of my rosters just because there are days, like you said, he'll be involved. He'll be involved in passing game. He did get 4 targets, so that's good. But it's all about Marlon Mack and T.Y. Hilton. You're right. I can't even believe the value that people got on him for some reason that so far down there. I think that when you're talking about the Indianapolis Colts, the one guy that I think is intriguing to me is Deion Kane. Going forward with Funchess out and all of that, I think that he's a guy that you might want to take a look at as a flyer, and particularly in some of the deeper leagues. He could be, they talked him up all preseason, didn't have a huge day in this one, but he's a guy that I really do think he could come around and be, helpful for them. So
I've seen him getting added in a lot of leagues this week, especially the Fishbowl, because you get the updates on all those ads. He's the next in line. I know Paris Campbell will be getting looks as well. It'll be interesting to see over the next few weeks which one of those guys, grabs the bull by the horns and takes the lead. Or grabs the colt by the horseshoe, maybe.
The colt by the horseshoe, eh?
It's a logo.
All right. That's fair. We can do that. Let's move along and talk about San Francisco and Cincinnati. You mentioned it off the top there. Then Mixon, obviously banged up. Gio Bernard becomes a stronger play this week. I want to ask you though: is San Francisco's defense? Are they for real?
I doubt
it. All right. I mean, we talked about obviously how bad.
Jameis
Winston looked, but
it makes defenses look good. He makes very unintelligent throws. But actually, down a stretch in that game, there was what was clearly a pass interference as far as I'm concerned of Richard Sherman to Mike Evans, which probably would have turned that game around at the end. They might have been able to pull that out. But no, I'm not buying into the San Francisco defense just yet.
All right, so you're not worried about the Cincinnati offense, which also actually had a surprisingly decent day. Only 20 points, but they looked good. Dalton threw for 418 yards and 2 touchdowns, and John Ross had a huge day out of nowhere.
Career high for Dalton, and John Ross is a guy who, in the past, I've bought up a lot of stock in, and I was happy. I was happy to see him at the tail end of a lot of my best ball benches. This past week, he paid off a large. In those type of leagues, I don't believe I started him in any other leagues where you have to set a lineup each week. But I think that John Ross is intriguing. I'm buying into him a little bit. There's guys that had big weeks last week that I'm not necessarily buying into, but John Ross is one that I am. Tyler Boyd was going to be the wide receiver 1 with A.J. Green out. And they had a kid, Willis, who I spoke about 2 weeks ago on a preview episode that you and I did, that was listed as a starter as well. He didn't do much. He did get a little bit of play. John Ross showed every bit the breakaway speed that he showed in the combine when he ran for the fastest combine speed out of anyone. So I'm buying into John Ross, and I'm very interested to see that going forward.
Yeah, I don't know that I could put him right into the lineup, but I do think that he should be added in just about every single league if he hasn't been. If he's there somehow. You got to add him. So, what about San Francisco?
What a mess already, huh?
I mean, is Garoppolo this bad?
You tell me. I mean, you were the guy. This is the guy who's going to be the second coming. Maybe, just maybe, he's tanking on purpose so he can make his way back to New England as Tommy maybe finishes up his career this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some conspiracy theories out there like that for sure. But I think that I don't know. I don't know if he's fully. I mean, obviously he's fully healthy, he's cleared and everything. I just don't know if he's fully comfortable yet, and that does make a difference for some guys. We saw it a little bit going back to Brady when he injured his knee, had the same injury. When he came back the following year, he wasn't right off the bat. I mean, he got better as the season went on. So, and then obviously he improved going forward, but. He wasn't right immediately, and maybe that's what we're seeing. Maybe we're just seeing, still some rust, even though he played the preseason, and maybe I gotta hope, right? My stocks of Jimmy Garoppolo have been on a wild roller coaster ride over the last couple of years because I bought him when he was nothing. I flipped him in a couple places when his value shot up, In the places that I held him, his stock is now tanking. So
I have him in one spot, and he's my quarterbacks in that super flex are him and Flacco. So please,
God,
please, James, please.
Look, I do think that he'll get better, but I also think part of it is there's really not. I mean, George Kittle's the only real proven offensive, weapon for him in that in the receiving game. I mean, they just really don't have anyone. You're talking about guys like Dante Pettis, and Richie James caught a touchdown. And
are we talking about Dante Pettis though? Dante Pettis got 2 snaps in this game, 2 snaps. And I have a good friend who's a 49er fan, and he was talking to me, and he said he thinks that the guy's just still not healthy, which is possible because I don't see a reason with that collection of wide receivers why Dante Pettis wouldn't be on the field more. The only explanation to me is he's got to still be slightly banged up. So maybe he's a buy low candidate, Pettis, but he's a guy that's nowhere near a starting lineup for me anytime soon.
Yep. All right. We have already gone way too far into some of these games. Los Angeles and Detroit. The only question I have for this game is, one, you want to check on Mike Williams, see if he's playing, because that doesn't look good. Hunter Henry, it's just hard to hear. I mean, talented guy, keeps getting injured. He's going to be out for what? I think it was, 6 to 8 weeks, was it? Or
somewhere in the 6-week range. And does he walk right back in at that point? I don't know.
Probably not. You got to feel bad for him. Although, Gates is still out there as a free agent. So
put down the jelly donuts, Antonio, and come back to us.
Let's get in some shape here, buddy. On the other side of the ball, is Stafford for real? Is he back?
Well, Stafford is a guy who played very injured last year, and I said you should have bought this guy up late in drafts because you absolutely could have got the value on him. Again, some good targets, some good weapons, and TJ Hawkinson explodes for the best rookie opening day for a tight end in NFL history and one of the top rookie tight end days overall in NFL history. And if that kid is going to play that way and Galladay is going to play the way he did, to have Marvin Jones as a number 3 target in that offense and Kerryon Johnson still to deal with, I'm buying into Stafford right now. Absolutely as a high-end QB2, and keeping my eye on if he continues this week to week.
Yeah, injuries and a poor offensive coordinator and or coaching staff really, really dropped Stafford's value. But if they can, start clicking a little bit here and have an offensive game plan that starts to turn around, they do have the pieces. So I think he's he was a huge buy low in the offseason. I think you're completely right, and I'm comfortable starting him. Even he's going to be a fringe QB1 for me.
Yeah, it's going to get to that point. Before we move on from this game, they obviously blew a comfortable lead to an Arizona team that looked, completely embarrassing in the first half, and then just finished strong. Kyler Murray, to his credit, was a guy I did not believe in for the season, and if he could do what he did in that second half. But how quickly does Matt Patricia return to New England? Because I just don't think he's a good head coach.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I doubt he'll make it through the season, or at least that's what I thought going into this year. If they play like that, though, I mean, honestly, there are a couple of stupid plays away from winning that game. I mean, like Amendola staying in bounds and not getting out of bounds, and
I'm screaming at my TV. You're a veteran. You're a veteran. What are you doing?
He's a guy that has to know that. I mean, that's on him. That's not a coaching problem. That's on him. So there was some stuff that they can clean up. If they can get a few wins, he might make it through the season. I mean, I don't want to compare him to Belichick because that's hard to do. But I will say, I mean, Belichick, when he first got into New England, they didn't like him. His first year, 2000, was not a good year. He cleaned a little bit of house. The guys, the players that were left over didn't like him because of the way that he coached and the way that he ran things. And then, they started to buy in when you get a couple of wins under your belt. So theoretically, that could happen. I don't think he's as good of a coach as Belichick. But if he does start to get a little win and the players buy in a little bit more,
I got to see it. He's got a Romeo Crennel feel. Good defensive coordinator, not much of a head coach.
Very well could be. That's for sure. All right, let's move along to one of the games that I think is one of the games of the week: Minnesota and Green Bay. Green Bay, didn't look great. They pulled out the win, but opening night Thursday game, I don't know. I'm not overly concerned with against a really good defense. I'm not overly concerned against about any of the pieces there in Green Bay. Aaron Jones sucked, and that hurt because I have a lot of Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I think we, as a show, we probably all do. And for me, here's the more disturbing thing. Not that he wasn't good against a really top run defense, was that how much Jamal Williams played as a result of him. Jamal Williams looked better. He's not a better running back than Aaron Jones, but I think we're going to be mired down a little bit here early in the season, and you're going to see more Williams than you had hoped to. I don't think it's going to be a far and away single running backfield that we had hoped for.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Williams is definitely going to get some run, and there were some concerns over that over the summer where we thought that they didn't really 100% buy into Aaron Jones being a new coaching staff and all that. So there were some concerns. I think we all thought and assume, and I still do, that the talent will win out, and Aaron Jones is just a way more talented guy.
He's a more explosive, big play running back.
Yeah. Jimmy Graham catches a touchdown. Sal, is he going to be an every week start? I think he is.
I think he was already hurt this week, though.
I know.
He
looks like he's going to play.
Yeah, he's going to play. Here's the thing that worries me in that offense is so many weapons. I mean, we all thought Geronimo Allison would be a decent start in that game, and he didn't even catch a pass. So I worry that 1 week it's a little bit more Allison. Valdez-Scantling looked good on a big downfield play, and he got a little bit more play. I'm just wondering how long it takes for our man Kumaro to unseat some people.
Not going to happen. It's not a thing.
I know. Jimmy Graham is a tight end one for me, low end tight end one for me right now.
Yeah. All right. On the other side with Minnesota, their offense looked good. Diggs, not great, but whatever. I mean, a little banged up. And
there was 10 passes thrown by that offense.
Yeah.
How much opportunity could they have?
They just didn't need it. Thielen gets a good big catch to kind of start off the game, and that's about it. But, I mean, Dalvin Cook looked great, but are you at all concerned because Madison was so heavily involved? Like I can't expect Cook to always be that efficient. And if Madison's going to get that kind of run, then
maybe we can expect Cook to be that efficient. Maybe we can expect that type of explosive play and Madison spelling him so that he stays healthy. We all know that the biggest concern and the biggest problem with Dalvin Cook has been the injury history. So if he's out there for less plays and he could be explosive like that, I think it can only be beneficial. So I'm not concerned because I don't think at any point Madison's going to overtake him or overshadow him. I think it's going to be. He looked real good. He looked good. So I think it's a benefit to Dalvin Cook to have him there.
All right, let's keep moving along here. There's not much to talk about on this next one, New England and Miami. I think you're starting New England players. You're not starting Miami. What else you got there? I mean, do we need to talk about Antonio Brown? I don't know.
No, let's not, because as a Raider fan, I'm sick of hearing about it. But just as a human being, I'm sick of hearing about it. Just it's amazing. The only thing I would say, talk to you, is how do you feel about making a trade with the Jets this week? And how do you feel about letting Demaryius Thomas go when there's a real possibility that Antonio Brown doesn't play a snap this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say the Jets because now Belichick has now made a trade with every team in the league. I think he's the only coach to have done that, so that's impressive. Our first trade with the Jets since before Belichick's time in 2000. But it sucks to get rid of Demaryius Thomas. I'll be honest with you though, I don't know that he would have been super effective in the offense even with Antonio Brown not here. I mean, he looked decent in the one preseason game, although because he had a lot of catches, but they were clearly targeting him. It was
a fourth preseason game also.
It was a fourth preseason game. He was playing against, basically junk, and he wasn't fast. I mean, he didn't look great, even though he did make some nice catches. So
he's a veteran who knows how to use his body to catch balls. He's a big target, and I think he'll do well with Quincy Enunwa going on the IR. But I don't think it's a big loss for the Patriots.
I mean, I think you saw what they can do, and that was without Demaryius Thomas. I mean, Josh Gordon looked phenomenal. Julian Edelman does what Julian Edelman does, and Dorsett can be that third guy. Then even Antonio Brown's not really necessary. So if
he's definitely not necessary, and I'll tell you, I watched that game and I enjoyed it because I think the team I dislike the most in the NFL is the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they'll make me root for the Patriots. And before we move on, meme of the day. I don't know if you saw a picture of Bill Belichick laughing, and
Yeah.
it said, "Ha ha ha." He knew that Demaryius Thomas had mononucleosis
Yeah,
when he
yeah.
said the Jets. So, what did the Jets? Ought to be the
Oh
Jets.
man, we'll get to them in a little bit as they are the Monday game. Buffalo stays in New York, but goes. Well, actually, I guess they move over. They travel down to New Jersey to take
They're
on
going
the
to be back
Giants.
where they were last week. They won a game there last week. They're going to go to 2-0 at in New Jersey.
They didn't look great. I mean, Josh Allen did not look good. Was serviceable at the end from a fantasy perspective, and ultimately, got the touchdown. John Brown looked good. He looked like John Brown from the early part of last season before they went to Lamar Jackson. So, and that's what John Brown's going to do. He's going to have a few catches, and then all of a sudden he's going to catch a big one and get a score, and you're good. So,
And then 5 weeks from now, he's going to break out.
maybe, I don't know, because I think they need him in that offense because I don't think they have much else. Devin Singletary,
Give the guy the ball.
4 carries, but 70 yards. I mean, I guess you got to give him the ball, right?
You have to give this guy the ball. What I mean, listen, Frank Gore's 175 years old. I get it. He keeps coming back every year, but as soon as they went to Singletary, the guy made plays. I mean, picked up chunk yardage. You have to have him more involved this week. Take the burden off of Allen for running the way he does. I know it's great for fantasy and getting that rushing touchdown was great and all, but that kid's going to get killed. He doesn't run with any sensibility. He tries to get in, tuck himself in the corners. Run this kid. I mean, you got rid of McCoy for a reason. It wasn't to play a 45-year-old man.
Running backs on the other side, Saquon Barkley is very good.
He's all right. Listen, the offensive line looked better in New York last week. I'll give them that. The defense sucks, but the offensive line.
The defense is really bad. They're just really not good. They're gonna have a tough season there, obviously. But your studs, Evan Ingram and Saquon Barkley looked good. So
yeah, and if you don't know, Sterling Shepard is in concussion protocol. Cody Latimer has some kind of a calf issue, I believe now. They had to re-sign TJ Jones. So it's going to be Evan Ingram and it's going to be Saquon Barkley every week. I've said it 1,000 times in the offseason. Evan Ingram is the wide receiver one in offense, and he 11 receptions last week.
Yeah.
Proved it. This guy is a locked-in tight end, top 3 tight end, in my opinion, because I think Ertz is creeping down a little bit.
So Daniel Jones watch week 2 coming in. What's your over under? What game?
No, I think that Eli's going to keep playing because the Giants are just stubbornly stupid.
Idiots. All right. Your favorite team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, at home against Seattle. Do the Steelers get back on the board with some offense?
I think the Steelers are going to struggle this season. I just do. I think that it's very rare for that organization to have it down here. I think this might be one. I mean, Seattle is, they're an okay team. They're not spectacular. I'm still playing my Jujus. I'm still playing my Connors. I'm a wait on Moncrief. James Washington, while he had that nice catch, he was working as the number 4 wide receiver behind even the little switchblade guy there, who I used to like. I can't think of his name. Yeah, Switzer. Right. That's it. Switchblade, Switzer, something like that. He was working as the 4th wide receiver. I think, honestly, Kevin, if I'm being honest, I think James Washington is the number 2 wide receiver in that offense at some point this year. So you're playing your studs in that offense on a weekly basis, and everybody else is a wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to be better. I think that I don't think they're holding an offense like that to 3 points good, but I do think the Patriots are a good defense, and I think that you'll see a rebound game for Pittsburgh here. As long as Juju's healthy, he's obviously a little nicked up coming into this week, but I agree with you. James Washington is definitely the number 2 guy. Connor will be fine as well, in my opinion. So I think you're going to keep rolling out your guys. Vance McDonald's the one guy that I think is a fringe tight end start most weeks, and so you're going to have to play matchups with him. He's the guy that I would be hesitant on. So, all right.
Big mistake by me, by the way, in the fishbowl. I played Vance McDonald last week and had Mark Andrews on my bench. Oh, that was a 40 burger.
Oh, man, that hurts. All right. The Seattle Seahawks. Is DK Metcalf going to be the guy, particularly with Lockett a little banged up this week? Hasn't practiced yet this week, so you got to monitor whether or not he plays.
he was seeing plenty of targets, right? He seemed to be the number one guy. Lockett is obviously the big play guy, and it was funny. We're watching that game here at with my buddy, and he's like, DK's DK. He's like, Lockett's going to get that one big pass up top, and sure enough, there it went for the touchdown to salvage his fantasy day. But yeah, it looked like Wilson was comfortable with him, and he looked comfortable in the offense. So I don't see a reason why he can't continue to be that guy in his offense. Even you as the Lockett guy knows he's not a multi-target guy.
No, I mean, reports of him being the quote-unquote number one going into this year, I mean, that may be true. He may be Russell Wilson's most trusted guy, but at the same time, he's never going to be a guy that's getting 12, 13 targets. He's just not that type of receiver. So I completely agree with you. I don't know that DK Metcalf's really that type of receiver either, but I think if they can both, split the carries or the catches, I should say, then they'll be fine. So
does that mean that Chris Carson is both number one receiver and running back?
He
led the team in targets.
I was down on Carson coming into this year, but he looked good, had a good game. So I think I got to change my opinion on him a little bit.
I got no redraft stock of him this year because I was the same way. I felt he was going too high. But if week one and his usage and performance is an indication, we both missed out.
Yep, absolutely. So what are you going to do? Sometimes we miss, Sal. I know that
it's rare.
You do it more than me, but whatever. All right, Dallas and Washington. Dallas looked real good.
Did they look that good because of how bad the Giants are?
I don't know. I think they're pretty good, Sal. I really
agree
do.
with you. I was actually plenty of Cowboy fans who are friends of mine, and for not practicing together, the triplets, as we'll call them.
Oh, geez.
Looked really comfortable. I was really more surprised at how good Amari Cooper looked than
Amari
Zeke.
Cooper's just a very talented receiver.
He looked really in sync.
What the Raiders did to him before he left is atrocious because he is a very good receiver.
Maybe if he played with Gruden, he would have been okay. I mean, Gruden he intelligently got the number one pick for him. I think that was good. I think it'll work for both teams as it has proven to already, even though we lost one of our first-round draft picks this week, the Raiders. A kid who I felt was helping to change the culture there a little bit. I digress. You're marching these guys out there every week. I was preseason. My bold take was Michael Gallup will lead the team in receiving and fantasy points. He might still lead the team in receiving because he had more receiving yards, but Amari Cooper is going to be the number one wide receiver from a fantasy standpoint in that offense.
Absolutely. Jeff Swaim is a guy you want to keep an eye on. Got targeted.
Who's he even play for? The Cowboys?
Wait, did I mess that up? Am I thinking of Jarwin again?
I always get because Jarwin and Whitney each got a touchdown.
Oh, did they? Yeah, all right. I always get them confused. Swaim's in Jacksonville now, huh?
Yeah. So Blake Jarwin finally was a guy I was on at the beginning of last year and got nothing, no returns out of him. This year catches the first touchdown of the season, and Whitten follows it up with a touchdown. So they got everybody involved in that offense.
Yeah, I mean, so besides my lack of knowledge of which tight end plays where, definitely a good, offensive output by the Cowboys. And I don't think you have to worry about it just being the Giants, as you talked about. So Washington is not good still. But fire up your Adrian Petersons because Geis is out again.
Unbelievable. Darius Geis, they were all in on him. They were so all in on him that they had a healthy scratch in Adrian Peterson in week one. He was not happy. Must have gotten some voodoo out and did something to Geis because guess who's starting this week? Adrian Peterson. Darius Geis is starting to chalk up to being a guy who just will not be successful in the NFL because of his body is failing him.
Yeah, we're only 2 seasons in, so really hope that that's not the case. But it's he's running out of time as a running back.
If you have him in Dynasty, it's been very, very disappointing. I've had offers to sell him this offseason, and I held on, and right now I'm really regretting turning those trade offers down.
My man Vernon Davis continues to produce, though, huh?
That was the most impressive touchdown of the week for sure. That was pretty insane. But Jordan Reed appears to be on pace to play this week, which doesn't mean I want to play Reed, but it means I probably don't want to play Davis because it probably splits the baby, so to speak.
I don't know if you want to go splitting babies, but all right, we can move along. Anything else Terry McLaurin was good, but outside of that,
I'm going to be interested McLaurin and Quinn going forward because McQuinn got a touchdown as well.
Yeah.
They were both guys you heard about in the offseason that could be, special players there or just a good part of the offense. So 2 guys I'm keeping an eye on.
I'm in a 16-team start 11 dynasty league, and it's Quinn is one of my starters for sure going forward because it's just hard to come up with 11 players when you're in a 16-team league. So, all right, let's move along. Arizona and Baltimore. So Kyler Murray finished the game strong, but do you think it was a matter of him getting through the rust, or not rust, so to speak, the jitters of this first ever NFL game? Or do you think that he's going to be an up and down player like that all year?
I think he's going to be an up and down player. I think there'll definitely be some growing pains. I think that he was helped out severely by 2 really spectacular catches by one of the greatest receivers to ever play in the NFL. They weren't like those balls were in stride. Larry Fitzgerald made 2 fantastic catches downfield that helped turn that game around. But Murray definitely impressed me with his poise down the stretch. So I think you'll get these hit or miss weeks, as you would expect from any rookie player at all, especially one that's playing the most important position in the game.
Yeah, I'm not expecting the same type of output every week out of Larry Fitzgerald, although, it was good to see, and maybe he's still like that. I mean, 13 targets, that's crazy to me. You'd like to see a guy like Christian Kirk do more with his 12 targets, so hopefully I think that, he's a guy that'll turn it around a little bit as well.
Well, Kevin, that week 1 is traditionally overreaction. Week, right. There'll be guys added, there'll be guys dropped, there'll be stupid mistakes made. Hollywood Brown is not going to do that every week, guys. Larry Fitzgerald's not going to do that every week because of where he's at in his career. So while it's awesome if you had those guys in your lineup, and I doubt many people had Hollywood in their lineup if it wasn't best ball this week, or maybe a few DK, swings for the fence, just be cautious on guys like that because I don't think you're going to have – I do expect more from Christian Kirk going forward, as you said, but be cautious. Don't go dropping these guys or adding guys in week 1 that don't make sense.
Made me happy to see the David Johnson output, kind of similar type of game that we're going to hope to expect out of him all year with not as much on the ground, but really offset by the amount of passing and receiving receptions that he had.
That big touchdown, which I didn't realize was him because it was pretty downfield of a pass. I was like, because I needed it. I needed TJ bad at that point. But then when I saw it was him pulling it down, very excited to see that. I think, clearly the best player in this offense, and they need to use him as such.
All right, Jacksonville takes on Houston. Gardner Minshew is now the quarterback in Jacksonville. I wasn't a big Foles guy coming into the season. I mean, obviously serviceable in Superflex, but as a low-end QB2. Minshew looked pretty good, though. Can he just fill right in for Foles?
Yeah, I'm not convinced he's going to fill right in. He's a 6th-round pick. That kid was obviously very accurate and a step into that position when he probably had no expectation at all to see the field on that day. Boy, I got to see what this does to that offense because I think that what will happen is they'll start to key on Fournette now, and Fournette looked good, and Fournette got a ton of work and a ton of targets in the past game. So if you were able to get Leonard Fournette in some places as a 3rd-round draft pick this year because people were down on him, I think that that's a guy who could have been a steal if Foles was still there, but still will do very well. So Gardner Minshew in the 2 QB leagues, obviously I tried to add him where I could. Single QB leagues, he's not on my radar at all, especially in redraft. But I'm going to be rooting for the kid and hoping that he does well.
As a father of a 3-year-old, I have spent my time going through the phase of the Shark song, and I just want to know from you: is this something I can expect to hear all season long, or is this a flash in the pan for DJ Shark?
DJ Shark. Now so my kids are older, so I only know that song by all my friends who've been in pain on Facebook and other social media places that I've seen.
It's brutal, Sal. It's brutal.
And for me, I went through the Barney stages years ago, so I know just how bad it can be. I don't know that DJ Shark is going to be a thing. I know that D.D. Westbrook was supposed to be the guy and did end up getting that touchdown, and that was nice to see. There's a lot of other, wide receiver weapons there. We'll have to wait and see on DJ Shark. It's possible. But for now, I'm a DD Westbrook guy.
All right. And on the Houston side of the ball, tough loss for them. You can't expect to lose a game like that every week, but their offense looked good all around. I mean, I don't know how much more you can ask for out of Nuke. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else? Any thoughts on them?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a cluster behind DeAndre Hopkins now, right? Because
sure, of course.
we saw Fuller come back and make that unbelievable downfield catch, but he only had 2 receptions total, and most of the yardage came on that one, and Stills had the big touchdown. But Kiki Cutie appears to be practicing fully and healthy this week and becomes a logjam there. So I think Stills and Kute, however you want to say his name, are guys I'm going to have to see how their role plays out. And with Duke Johnson getting a ton of receptions and targets as well, it's a little bit of a mishmash. So I think Fuller is going to be in my lineup on a weekly basis because that touchdown rate possibility that he has. But also Carlos Hyde just looked really good as a runner. And on a short week of practice with that team, I expect more out of him going forward.
I was just going to ask you, is Carlos Hyde in your lineup every week until further notice?
Again, I've been fortunate in the 16-team falafel, even though I lost, to have a few guys start to take shape, and he isn't on my roster, not going to be in my lineup, but he's a guy I'd be considering if I lost Darius Geis, if I had some of those guys banged up and in week 1, he's a guy I'd be considering because I think he averaged over 8 yards a carry, and he's not going to continue that rate, but I think he's going to be a solid plug-and-play running back in that offense.
All right, we got a few more games to go through here, but I want to ask you before we do, Sal, if you found $100 in the street, would you pick it up or would you keep walking?
I'd probably throw some elbows for that.
You'd be knocking old women down on the street is what you're saying?
They got the way.
Of course you'd take the money. So why do you keep picking winners and not betting on them? That's why we should go to MyBookie. It's fast, it's easy, and they pay when you win. Let's face it, where you're betting is just as important as who you're betting on. Sal and I wouldn't be telling you to bet with guys if we didn't think they were the best. MyBookie is definitely the best. Do the smart thing. If you're going to bet on football this season, bet with MyBookie. Did you know that you can bet on games after kickoff, Sal?
I did not know that.
If by the second half it looks like your bet is going to lose, you can bet on the other side. That's just a savvy veteran move right there.
Well, I'm a vet. We know I'm a vet.
Right. If you're the kind of guy that likes to bet a little and win a lot, try a parlay. If all your picks come through, you'll multiply your winnings. And no matter how you bet, the NFL season is the best time of year. Join now and MyBookie will double your first deposit. Just use promo code HOUSE to activate the offer. That's promo code HOUSE. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid. Sal, I've been telling you about MyBookie for a couple of years now, and I got to be honest with you, you should really just be betting more because I've seen how good you are at picking games, and you should just put some money on it because you frequently tell me how poor you are.
I am broke. That's a result of having 3 children with 2 in college and living that single life. But yeah, I think in order to subsidize my living, I need to start just dropping bigger value bets.
Yeah, definitely. You should do that. All right, so let's keep cruising along though. Kansas City and Oakland. Your Raiders taking on the Chiefs at home. I expect the Chiefs to continue to display offensive prowess in this one. I think you're firing up all your usuals there, and any cause for concern. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is out. I think that just makes. I don't think Sammy Watkins is going to do what he did last week, but I think it makes him an every week start for sure.
He is until he proves to us that he shouldn't be, which he will probably do at some point.
Well, he'll probably get hurt at some point is really what will happen. I mean, that's usually what goes on with him. So, Mecole Hardman, I'm a wait and see. I'm not throwing Mecole Hardman into a lineup just because Tyreek Hill's out, but I do think you probably want to speculatively add him if you have the space and hold on and see what happens.
Yeah, he should be owned at this point. He did get the second most percentage of plays once Tyreek Hill went out last week. Didn't see a lot of targets, but that'll probably change. They featured him a bunch in preseason. Andy Reid likes the kid, so I think he is the guy behind Watkins. Yeah, I don't expect that offense to be derailed in any way against the Raiders. The Raiders defense played well on Monday night. I think that there was a lot of emotion because of everything they went through with AB saga leading up to that game, because it was the last ever Monday Night Football game in Oakland at home with that crowd. I think there was a lot of emotion there. Raiders are going to face a ridiculous schedule over the next 5 to 6 weeks, so we should relish that win because it might be the only one we have till about midway through the season.
And is their offense for real, or is it just the hype of that game then?
Listen, Denver was supposed to be a good defense. But again, maybe some of the emotion played into it. But I think that they were going to be a good offense. I think that Derek Carr is a guy that's just so disrespected because he plays for Oakland. We know he's done well in the past, was in the MVP chat not that long ago. It looks like Darren Waller might be the next in line for the great tight ends. I mean, we saw George Kittle come in and do it last year when given the opportunity. Gruden loves him. He says he's special. He's going to get every opportunity. I don't have a lot of stock in him because I thought that, with him coming in with very little experience, that it'll be a wait to see. It looked like Jalen Richard took a back seat where I thought that he would step up and get some of those tight end targets, and he didn't. So, yeah, I'm playing Terrell Williams as a wide receiver too. I'm playing Waller as a tight end 1, and Josh Jacobs is going to get absolute volume. And if he can continue to do what he did with the volume, those 3 guys should be in your lineup every week.
All right, Chicago and Denver. This one's in Denver, and Chicago looked brutal Thursday night, opening night. Offensively, they just look bad.
Well, here's an idea. I just said that the volume that Josh Jacobs got and what he did with it. How about you do that with Montgomery? Because when the kid touched the ball, he looked special. He looked like he could do things, and they didn't go back to him.
No, terrible game plan for them all around. I just, offensively, Allen Robinson was the only one that had decent stats. Like you said, Montgomery, while his yards per carry weren't really that great, he just looks the part of an NFL running back, and I think he's got to be on the field more. I completely agree with you. We'll see if they do that against Denver. Obviously, Denver's shown that you can use a running back with volume there and get some production. So hopefully, Chicago watches the tape of the Raiders game and does the same, rolls out the same game plan against Denver. But on Denver's side of the ball, you talked about Flacco being one of your 2 quarterbacks in his 2-quarterback league and not being too thrilled about it. I would not be too thrilled about it either. I just don't have any faith in Flacco. I mean, he is what it is, right? What he is, but he's just not going to get any better. So
it's really bad on that game.
Anyone expecting him to be better is crazy. I did like Cortland Sutton's production, though. I mean, it's good to see him be that number 1 guy. So, and I think that I think that's something that will probably continue. Opening night was a little bit of an indicator. I know we don't want to overreact, but we also want to react. And I think that's something that you can, he's probably a guy that's going to be in my lineup most weeks now. Got
great targets, pulled him in, looked good, made big plays. And I think that him and Sanders are guys you're going to want in there weekly. I did read where I think it was Flacco who said there were a lot more plays designed for Sanders in the first half that they weren't able to go to or get done. And then he closed the game out really strong for those owners that stayed up and watched and got to celebrate. So I think that they have the wide receiver weapons there. I don't know that I like the way the running backs are being used or what the running backs look like for either guy there. So Noah Fant off to a bad start with really bonehead penalties. And if you're a rookie making penalties like that, that legitimately hurt the team, you're not going to be on the field long.
Hey, the good thing is they don't really have any other options.
Yeah, plus everybody keeps getting hurt. It was exactly what I was going to say. So.
Yeah. So, all right. We had a question actually from someone who's watching live. Emmanuel Sanders or Deshaun Jackson. We haven't talked about the Eagles yet, but we'll get to them in a minute. Who are you starting there?
Oh, boy. Who's Philly playing? I don't have it in front of me.
So Philly's playing the Falcons?
Philly's playing Atlanta, yeah.
That's a tough one. I probably would.
You're going to say Deshaun?
I was.
Deshaun's as my buddy.
I mean, look, he looked great. So,
well, we've seen Deshaun Jackson do this before, where he looks great and then he disappears. He is one of those boom or bust wide receivers. Hey, listen, the better quarterback plays in Philadelphia, so
easy decision there.
The offense, you're right. Once I cleared the cobwebs out of my old brain and realized it's Deshaun Jackson.
All right, New Orleans and Los Angeles play. New Orleans looked great. All your big, all your guys came through. Kamara was good. Traquan Smith had a touchdown. Although he wasn't productive outside of that, Michael Thomas was used the way we expected him to be used. And Latavius Murray had a good game as well. So I don't think there's too much to talk about from the Saints' perspective. You're kind of doing what you're doing with those guys. On the Rams side of the ball, what's your girly thought of the week?
My girly thought of the week is that everybody overshot on Darrell Henderson. Plenty of people said it was Mac, and everybody kept saying it's going to be Henderson. So I think Gurley's going to be fine. The touchdowns definitely bother me and disturb me with Mac, but Gurley ran for almost 100 yards, and they did let him run the clock out late. They were letting him run the ball late in that game. So I'm not worried from the standpoint of him getting usage. I just don't like the fact that Mac was in there on those goal line touches.
Yeah, only one target, I believe, as well, and that makes me a little nervous too from Gurley's standpoint because you'd like to see more out of him in the passing game because that was what made him, when he really turned into a dominant, running back. It was because he was being used in the passing game. Same thing we saw with Ezekiel Elliott when he started being used in the passing game. It was because that's really what made him take that next leap. But 14 carries, I think that's probably what you're going to see out of him. So
let's see also what happens if he gets off to a hot start, right? He didn't get off to a hot start.
True.
So if he gets off to a hot start and he's rolling, it might be Gurley of 2 years ago. So again, I don't think I'm ready to start Mac weekly thinking he's going to get 2 touchdowns every week. The guy I'd like to see a little bit more out of is Brandon Cooks, because I ended up with so much damn stock of Brandon Cooks this year, and he caught 2 friggin' targets out of the 6 that I think were thrown his way. So
6 targets.
Stepping up, Brandon.
Brandon Cooks will be fine. This is what you expect out of Brandon Cooks. It's one big, one small, one big, one small. So next week should be pretty good. Make sure you get him in your lineups. Robert Woods with 13 targets, though, is just dominant. But it was nice to see Cooper Kupp with another 10 targets. I mean, they're going to spread the ball around there. So,
yeah.
All right. Philadelphia and Atlanta, the Sunday night game. The Miles Sanders did not look great.
Yeah, his per carry. What was his? You have his per carry average in front of you.
Pull it up right now while
it wasn't very special.
Nope.
Jordan Howard had one big run that sticks out in my mind. That looked good. Seemingly Darren Sproles looked like the best running back in the backfield. But this is, how many years do I got to complain? This is 4 years of doing a show, and I've been complaining about Doug Peterson ever since we started this show because
11 carries, 25 yards, 2.3 yards per carry.
Yeah, so
brutal.
I think that they'll continue to use him, but if that's the output, it might start to dwindle. I don't know that I could comfortably start any of those running backs right now unless I'm in a really deep league and a matchup is just glaring at me. The Falcons didn't look good. They did not look good as a team last week, and they were clearly run on by the Vikings. So,
that was an odd game. I mean, look, the Falcons defense did not look good. And then they were down so early. I'm not going to read too much into the running game here. Look, Freeman was not good. First game back from almost the entire season off. I'm still on Freeman here. I'm not panicking. I know a lot of people will because they were down on him to begin with, but he was relatively cheap, so he's not your number one running back. So
no,
as a flex play going forward, I think you're still going to be fine.
Flex play? Holy, you got him as a flex play?
Yeah, I mean he's going in the 3rd and 4th round in places.
For the love of Pete, I got to get into some. Oh, I'm in a lot of your leagues.
Yeah. Oh, that's why I take running backs early. We know this. All right, let's keep going here. Cleveland and New York in the Monday night tilt. Sam Darnold has mono, so he's done for what, apparently a few weeks. I don't know why. I don't
Sam
know how you.
Darnold, the youngest quarterback in the NFL, clearly should still be in high school because he has a high school sickness.
Right. I don't know that it matters too much. I mean, Trevor Simeon's fine.
Ooh, I think Sam Darnold is an upgrade over Trevor.
No, he is. But I don't look. How many people in that offense were you trusting to begin with? I mean, you're probably rolling out Le'Veon Bell, who's also. Yeah, exactly.
The good news is while we're recording this, the MRI came back with no real damage to Le'Veon Bell. Is it possibly still misses Monday night? Maybe they're like, Sam's not playing. Let's be a little cautious and hold Bell out. So that's something with it being a Monday night game is really difficult. If you're waiting on that, add Ty Montgomery, obviously, to the end of your bench, just in case. Do not leave yourself with no one to put in his place. But yeah, it's just like same old Jets. It's very sad to see as a New Yorker, not a fan necessarily of the team, but as a New Yorker, to see just the sadness that continues to follow that franchise.
I still like it because,
I know where you come from, son.
Yeah, that's right. Cleveland, Nick Chubb got 17 carries, only had 75 yards, but he got 4 targets. Remember everyone that said he couldn't catch? He caught 3 of them. Now, granted, he got no yards, but if you can get 3 catches a game and 17 carries, I think Chubb's going to have a good season.
Well, who got the touchdown?
Well, shut up.
That was so annoying early in the game. Right?
God.
I think Chubb had a big run on that drive, got him down there, and it was like, we're just going to bring this kid in and just piss everybody off.
Hey, luckily, I'm pretty sure that Chubb hit him in the head on the sidelines, and now he's in the concussion protocol. So,
Let me ask you this. Did you see what Odell Beckham Jr. said today about his former interim head coach last year, who's now the D coordinator in Greg Williams in New York?
No.
He said that players, current teammates of his in Cleveland, told him that Greg Williams told them to try to injure him in that preseason game where he was injured and what kept him out for much of his second to last season in New York. So he came out and said that in public. So I would imagine Greg Williams is going to have people gunning for him this week. I wish Odell Beckham Jr. would shut the fuck up already and just play football. What did he have? 7 for 70 something last week? Very low yards per reception last week. Odell, just shut up and do what you do. Stop worrying about being a celebrity and be a football player.
And last question before we get out of here, is Mayfield going to turn it around?
I think Mayfield will definitely be better than he was last week. But again, the 2 weeks ago, the preview episode, and when we've talked in the offseason, I told you, anybody who thinks this offense is just a gimme, well-oiled machine is fooling themselves. There's a lot of new parts, and Baker Mayfield is a second-year quarterback. It's, second-year quarterbacks tend to struggle, unless you're just, what's his name over there in Kansas City? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
In his defense, he did sit for his entire first year. So
yeah, I think he'll be better, but I think he'll have games like this too because he'll take chances. And late in that game, he was trying to make things happen. That fourth quarter was brutal, but I think it's because they had played so bad all year, and he was all game rather, and he was trying to bring them back. So he'll be better, but I think you're going to see weeks out of this offense just like that.
All right, Sal, I want to thank everyone that's listening to us right now live, and I want to thank everyone listening to us on the Dynasty Dummies podcast feed. Make sure you check out the Dynasty Dummies, usually drops earlier in the week. Make sure you check out J Mike's Dummy Blitz, which comes out shortly after the games on Sunday. And we thank everyone. You can follow the show FF Funhouse on Twitter. You can follow Sal at SalLitoFF. You can follow me at Kevin Cotillo. And if you, for some odd reason, want to follow Steve, he's at Sid Skeet. You can, and Sal, we did this last week. We didn't do this the first week when you and I recorded when we were on this feed, but as we typically do, we like to give out some final thoughts. So you got something special you want to tell the people?
That's usually because this is what I do to our final thoughts. I think that's why we didn't do it. But, thank you all for listening. Definitely do all the stuff that Kevin said. Follow us. Check out the Dummies. Check out J Mike. And, reach out on Twitter. Let's have some fun on Sundays. You want to talk a little trash to us? You want to ask some questions in the morning? We're around. I love interacting on Twitter with, not necessarily fans, but just other people who enjoy football like myself.
Let's be honest. There's no fans. It's just,
I'm a ceiling fan.
oh yeah, hey, I got one of those too. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. For my final thought, I just want to remind everyone to add a charitable aspect to your fantasy playing experience, whether you're donating some league fees or getting together as a group and doing some charity work. Always makes it more fun. So definitely get involved in your community. Check out fantasycares.net, whatever it takes to get you to help someone else out. We'll be back next week. And until then, see ya.